Citations gaming enthusiasts, George Money Nerd here. While Mario may be my main gaming interest and childhood obsession, the Animal Crossing series was another game series that I loved growing up. Starting with Wild World on the DS, Animal Crossing was this safe, comfortable place I could go to every day. A lot of the tasks I did in the game were rather repetitive and mundane, but they were easy to understand and engage with. You can learn how things work, try your best to do them well, and succeed, little by little. A lifestyle that was far removed from my own, being an autistic, introverted person who struggled at school both with learning and social interaction with the other kids. In the world of Animal Crossing, I could escape to a place where I'm suddenly able to talk to all my virtual friends, free of anxiety or worry. To a place where every day there was a few nice little surprises to find, be it a new fish or bug to catch and learn about, a funny bit of dialogue from your villagers you hadn't seen before, some great new piece of furniture or clothing to buy in the shops, or a fun event to participate in that day. It may have been mostly predictable, but in a world that did and still does confuse and frustrate me, that was part of the appeal. But still, there were plenty of little surprises in the game to keep me occupied and entertained every day. I'd grow familiar with my town, my house, the villagers, the music. Playing it at the end of the school day felt like being wrapped in a warm, comfortable blanket. I loved the excitement of going to bed the night before I was going to get a house expansion, or the night before the shop was going to expand, and the joy of designing my new room, or checking out all the new stuff to buy and the new aesthetic of the shop. I'm not kidding when I say these old games would give me at least a year's worth of fun and fulfillment. Then there was Let's Go to the City on Wii, which didn't connect with me like Wild World did. I've always preferred handheld to console. It's always felt more personal having the screens in my hands than on the TV. But especially with the pick up and play for short bursts every day sort of nature of Animal Crossing, being on the TV felt very counterintuitive. Especially since at first our family Wii was down in the living room, so I'd often have an audience when playing which really didn't fit Animal Crossing. But then Animal Crossing New Leaf came out and reminded me how much I love the series, with an absolute banger of a game. This time I was playing the game while going through college. What was a new leaf in my real life as I started to feel somewhat like an adult for the first time was also a new leaf in Animal Crossing with a very polished game with loads of new little tweaks and improvements, like the main street, as well as more autonomy in the town with your mayoral role. My town in New Leaf, Roten, is the one I remember by far the most from all the ones I've had in the past. Over the years of active play I had with the game, I got Roten just the way I wanted it. It was perfect and I loved it. And yet, as happens far too often in Animal Crossing when the player gets tired of their town once they're happy with it and don't have the money to just buy another copy of the game, I erased it. And as always, as had happened when I deleted my childhood town on my DS, I was just left hollow with the loss of my town. The new one and its fresh start never ever feels right. Animal Crossing is just a game that's hard to get back into. Then in March of 2020, at the start of this miserable pandemic that's been going on for way too long, Nintendo gave us Animal Crossing New Horizons at just the right time. It was a game I was extremely excited for. After all, new Animal Crossing games are a big deal. I generally played them regularly for years after the initial release. And this game gave the player an enormous amount more control over their environment than previous games. So why did I lose interest in the game so much earlier than usual? How come this game feels so much less compelling to me than previous, less advanced entries in the series? I've thought of two explanations. Firstly, while this game has an awful lot more freedom and control over your world than previous games, it's pretty lacking in several areas the old games really shined in. My biggest problem with New Horizons is how bland and flat the villagers are in their dialogue. In the old games, when talking to the villagers, you never knew what kind of kooky conversation you'd find yourself in. I played them for years and still be surprised by new dialogue that'd make me chuckle. But the villagers in New Horizons just talk about what you did yesterday or the next festival or something else extremely mundane. They're cardboard cutouts of their former selves, shifting through the 5 things they have to say over and over. As I write this, it's been almost a year since I last played it, so I don't fully remember what it was like, but they were definitely so much less interesting to talk to than they used to be. Among other downgrades in New Horizons are its lack of several features at launch that have been slowly reintroduced over time through updates. And for some reason the shop now only upgrades one time instead of 3 like it used to, and that one upgrade we got was a really minor one too. Having the shop gain more variety in things to buy and change aesthetics over the course of the game was a great way to feel like you were progressing in the game, along with expanding your house, which gives you more space to put your stuff. I suppose a lot of the furniture is acquired through crafting now, which can be a fun mechanic, but also relies on getting the recipes you want, which is up to random chance. Last autumn, I played the game pretty much every day because I really wanted to get the mushroom and maple leaf furniture sets. But over all that time, I think I got like 3 mushroom recipes. It left me very unsatisfied, and I think was actually the last straw and made me give up playing. If I were to recommend a possible fix to this problem, I'd suggest a small selection of crafting recipes be available to purchase every day, with at least one seasonal one. They could be expensive to not completely invalidate the normal methods of getting recipes. Or the shop could perhaps have some of the recipes that you can craft for sale straight up, so then you do have a chance to get this furniture that you want, while still leaving the randomness of getting the recipes out in the wild a proper mechanic in the game. But the randomness was way too infuriating to me. I'd love a way to choose recipes you want and exchange hard-earned bells for them. Maybe that wouldn't mesh with the game's design. Maybe the whole crafting mechanic itself is something I don't like, or it's not implemented well enough for me. I'm really not sure. But while I'm sure those clear objective factors are part of the reason why I don't feel too keen on New Horizons, I have a second theory. What if I've just outgrown this kind of game? I've noticed that I seem to have less patience or time for playing video games nowadays. Often I'm working on videos where I talk about games more than I actually play them. I feel like I can't be bothered as much as I could before. Back in the old days, I could play something for hours, even let it become nighttime without noticing while I played. But now it kind of feels like a chore, and I don't have the energy to play very much anymore. It might be because I turn video games into work rather than recreation in my mind with this channel, but playing games doesn't give me the joy it used to very often. It doesn't seem to give me that fulfilling feeling of being in control it used to. And Animal Crossing is one of those games you need a lot of patience for, going back to play a little every day. Whatever the reasons, New Horizons just hasn't scratched my Animal Crossing itch. I'd hate to think I've grown into the kind of person who doesn't have the patience to enjoy this series anymore, because it was one of my favourite game franchises growing up. But that sadly might just be the case. Though I'd rather think it's because of the game itself feeling lackluster to me, then hopefully the next entry in the series will satiate me. While in the process of writing this script, a new Animal Crossing Direct was announced and aired, and it did introduce a lot of new and interesting looking features. While I am going to give the game another shot with this update, I'm even going to do a soft reset and redesign my island, so subscribe and stay tuned for some videos about that. It doesn't seem like this update addresses any of my issues with the game though, not mentioning anything about updating villagers' dialogue, or expanding the still pitifully small shop. The DLC looks very pricey. I don't feel compelled to get it, especially since decorating my house has been something I really lost my passion and creativity for this game, likely because of how hard it is to get furniture you want now. So DLC all about interior design doesn't really appeal to me. Maybe someday when I crave to give Animal Crossing another go after another hiatus, I'll get it, but I'm in no hurry. It's funny how a direct came along and gave my script a happier ending than I had planned. This update should give me a decent chunk of playtime for New Horizons now. Well, that's it for today's video. I certainly hope you enjoyed it and will consider subscribing for more Animal Crossing content. Though to be honest, you'd mostly get Mario content because, you know. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, farewell everyone.